Do you want me to go ahead and just kick off?
Yes.
All right, great. I really apologize to everybody for running a little bit behind, but I have had an interesting morning here. They just cut the power and doing some construction near my office, so I have run to the local coffee shop to go ahead and do this webinar. But that is me right there, Merditt Powell, presenting to this webinar today, and we're going to do one of my favorite webinars based on the book that you all have been talking about called "Cut the Excuses and Send Sales Through the Roof." This is kind of an interesting webinar because I'm actually going to tell you, instead of things you need to add to your to-do list, I'm going to actually tell you things that you can take off of your to-do list. And who doesn't need less things to do when it comes to making sales? So again, that's me. You've already heard a few things about me, but I am a business strategist, keynote speaker, award-winning author, and been named the top 15 business growth expert to watch and top 40 motivational speakers. But enough about me. Let's jump in to this webinar. So your biggest sales challenges. Number one may be that you have too much to do. Who doesn't have too much on their sales plate? Or number four is you're not sure what to prioritize. Or number three, you struggle to stay organized. Number two, you need to work more efficiently. Or if you're a little bit like me, you suffer from every single one of those sales challenges. Well, I wanted to start the webinar out today by laying those challenges out, because we're going to actually solve every single one of those today. When you leave this webinar, we'll have gotten through some of the biggest obstacles, but we'll really have gotten through and helping you solve having too much to do, making sure you can really prioritize what you need to prioritize, get yourself organized, work more efficiently, and solve all of those things so you can truly send sales through the roof. So let's talk about what you need to quit doing. What are some of the obstacles and some of the things that are keeping you from really being able to take your sales to the next level? Again, it's cutting through the excuses, pushing through the obstacles, having the skills and the talents and the things that you need to really make sales work for you. So the place that we need to start when we really need to start thinking about sales is really start thinking about the marketplace and thinking about the economy. And I don't know, if you're anything like me, maybe you're getting a little bit sick and tired of just trying to figure out what this economy is going to do. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it going up? Is it going to get better? Is it going to get down? I don't know. I think on any given day, we can hear from experts everywhere telling us this economy is going to be good, only 5 minutes later to hear that it's down. When the truth is, it isn't about whether the economy is up or down. It's whether this economy is different. That's what we need to be focused on, is really understanding just how different the marketplace is that we are trying to sell into. I want you to think about the world that we live in today. Just think about the fact that, people are listening to this webinar all over the world, can have access to it for a really long time. I mean, we live in a world where there's globalization, constant advancements in technology, increasing competition. We could all get up right now. We could go home. We could get in our jammies. We could sit around in our shorts. We could Google until our heart is content and have everything we need, everything we want, every little thing our heart desires. It could be delivered right to our door. I am guessing that you do that right now. Probably listening to me right now, I have the king or queen of Amazon Prime. Well, that right there changes everything. That makes this a marketplace like none of us have ever lived in, worked in, or tried to sell in before. That makes this an economy that is less about what we sell and more about how we sell it. I want to say something that's probably not going to be very popular, and that is the fact that all of our products and services, whether we like it or not, they have basically become a commodity. They're something that people can buy anywhere, anytime, and they can even buy them without us. There is not a product that you make, not a product that you sell, that is different, that your competitors can't sell, won't sell, or couldn't sell. So it isn't the products that are selling that are making you giving you competitive advantage. It's how you are selling them. That is what is making the difference. It is the experience that you are providing to your customers that are really going to help you push through the obstacles and truly gain competitive advantage. I want you to think about the fact that, again, there isn't a product that you make that your customers, that your competitors can't make, won't make, or couldn't make. So we've got to create a customer experience that is so incredible, they don't believe they can find it anywhere else. And for people who already buy from us, we've got to continue to add value at a level that really makes them believe that they can't find anybody to take care of them as well as we can take care of them. So selling today is really relationships on steroids. Now, this slide that I've got in front of you right now is just a quick slide to remind you that I'm doing a webinar and a workshop that I'm working for you. If at any time you have questions, or please take my contact information at the end and stay in touch with me. Because if you have questions or concerns or things that you want to know about that I didn't cover in this webinar, it really helps me if you reach out and we can cover those. And I'm so happy to do that. So let's go ahead and jump in. Again, it isn't what you do, it is really how you do it. How you do it is your competitive advantage, the value you add to your existing customers and the experience that you provide in the marketplace. That's what's going to build your reputation. So let's go ahead and start talking about the obstacles that really hold salespeople back. Now, this webinar said that I'm going to give you 7, and you just see 6 listed here. It's because I've got a bonus for you that will hold to the end and cover that one. So these are the obstacles that really hold you back and prevent you from really being able to send sales through the roof. Number 1, quit blaming price. Look, we all have challenges with price, right? Who listening to this webinar hasn't lost a sale based on price? But here's something you need to know, that it's a myth in this economy. It just isn't true that your customers are choosing your competitors because they're cheaper. Every single person listening to this webinar has bought something that if our friends or family members knew how much we paid for it, they would think we were crazy. But we believe we are getting the deal of a lifetime. So it is a myth in this economy. Price is not the issue. The only reason that you ever lose on price is because price is all you're selling. If price is all you're selling, then price is all your customers will ever buy. Look, people will pay more for something, but they need to know what they're paying more for. In other words, they need to understand the benefit and they need to understand the value. You've got to learn to sell risk and you've got to learn to sell value. If you want to push through the obstacle of price, you've got to learn to sell risk and you've got to learn to sell value. A couple of years ago, I had a client that had come to me that made software for small manufacturing companies. And he'd come to me because he needed help with his sales team. His sales team said they just can't compete anymore, that the competitors were just all price lower, and that my CEO needed to lower his price if they were going to compete. But the reason he came to me was he said that he couldn't compete because he couldn't lower the price, because if he lowered the price, he was at margin. There was nowhere lower for him to go. All right, I found out people, they felt like they were getting the deal of a lifetime. They didn't mind paying more because he always had a person answer the phone. They loved the fact that he included them when he was making upgrades or changes to the software. His company hadn't been sold in 20 years, and they loved the fact that he was stable and somebody that they could count on. All we did was start to work those into the sales process. So the next time that his salespeople made a call, certainly they talked about the fact that their price was a little bit more expensive, but they said, did you realize we've been in business for 20 years? Next time we make changes to the software, you're going to have a person to talk to. And the list went on. In other words, if obstacle is if price is an obstacle for you, you push through that by selling risk and value, by understanding why your customers should pay you more. You've got to be able to tell them that immediately. If you can't answer the questions, what do your customers get if they pay you more? And what do they lose if they do business with your competitor? If you can't answer that readily, then you're selling on price. So you've got to learn to sell risk and value. Number two, quit blaming the economy. We already talked a little bit about this one, but so often we think about whether the economy is up or down, but it isn't the economy that is holding you back. Whether the marketplace is up or whether the marketplace is down, whether it's different like we talked about, if you believe the economy is stopping you, it is and it will. What you focus on in life expands. And if you focus on the fact that you're worried about the fact that the economy is going down, then the economy will stop you. There are always people that are going to buy from us no matter what this economy does. And in fact, even if the outlook doesn't look strong, if you're in an area where, business isn't good and business isn't hiring, just be persistent. Because what happens is your competitors are going to fall off. Once the economy takes a turn, people start to blame the economy. And if you're the one that stays in the game, if you're the one who stays there, then you're going to be in a good position to sell. You've got to know the landscape when it comes to dealing with the economy. Customers, competitions, you need to spend at least 15, 20 minutes once a month and just talking as a team. What changes are happening with our customers? What changes are happening in our industry? What changes are happening with our competition? And if any of those changes can impact your sales ability, then you need to make a shift. I'll give you a great example. With my customers, I have seen some changes happening next year that while they're still attending live events, they're doing a lot more things like this, like webinars and online things. So because I see those changes coming, I've made some shifts in my business and I'm doing more online opportunities, more online programs, because I'm seeing the changes happening with my customers and I'm reaching out and I'm meeting their needs. So that's what you want to do too. You need to know the landscape and know that the economy and things are going to shift. But if you see those changes coming, you can be out in front of those changes. You've got to overfill your sales funnel. The hardest time to close a sale, the absolute hardest time to close a sale? It's when you need the sale to close. If you need the sale to close, you're desperate. And if you're desperate, you are never going to close the sale. Desperate has an odor and people can smell it a mile away. So you've got to be selling from a place of power rather than a place of need. And the only way to sell from a place of power is to not need the sale. You need to overfill your sales funnel. You need to have more things moving, more business moving through your funnel than you need to close. So you have got to overfill that sales funnel. I want to say one other thing about that, and that sales is a lifestyle. It's not something you do when you need business. Just like you brush your teeth every day, maybe you exercise every day, maybe you pray every day, whatever it is that you do every day as a common ritual, you need to do the same with sales. Make a couple of sales calls every day, whether you need the business or not. Number three, you need to quit prioritizing new business. Yeah. As salespeople, we like to go chase the new deal. But with this, you need to quit prioritizing new business and focus on your existing customers. If you believe new customers are more important than existing customers, you're missing the easiest sale there is. Look, your existing customers, those people who have already bought a product from you, they know you, they like you, they trust you. They believe in you. And because they believe in you, they're ready to buy more from you. But you need to be selling to them. Listen, if you want to close some business this week, and I know everybody does, you need to do this little exercise. Write down your top 20 customers, top 20. And let me explain a top 20 customer. A top 20 customer is somebody that buys products and services from you, pays your price. You get a smile on your face just when you think that you are going to meet with them. They like you and you like them. If you write down your top 20 customers and then write down your top 20 products, even 10 products, but 10 things that you sell, and then see how many of those products your top 20 customers have, chances are it'll be two or three out of 10 or 20. And that creates your opportunity. It's the easiest sale there is. When you already have a relationship with somebody, you can pick up the phone, you can shoot them an email, you can stop by and visit and just say, hey, I was thinking about you. I was thinking about your business. And here's a couple of ideas that I have to take your business next level. Quit focusing on just new customers. Go back to your existing customers and get the easiest sale there is. Follow this exercise and it will work for you. It'll be incredible. You'll close business this week. Quit thinking prospects aren't interested. You know, what we're talking about here is follow-up. If you believe customers aren't interested, then they won't be. Follow up and follow through. The sale happens in the follow up. The top two reasons that we don't follow up with customers. Well, let me say this. What do you think the chances are that you are going to interact with a customer at the exact time, the exact moment they want to buy a product or service? Slim to none, right? None of your customers got up this morning, got down on one knee and said, please, please, please let a sales professional call on me today. That just didn't happen. So you have to understand that since the chances are slim to none that you interacted with them at the exact time they want to buy something, then you've got to follow up and follow through. But the top two reasons that we don't follow up with our existing customers is because, number one, we worry that if we follow up too much and too often, that we'll be annoying. But also, we don't follow up because we think they are not interested. But that's just not true. People are busy. You may have just had the greatest sales call in the world, but then they get off the phone and they get back to the office and their best employee just quit. They've had a problem with the water heater. Their mother fell and broke their hip. Their kid just got a D on the report card. In other words, doing business with you just fell to the bottom of the list. So follow-up is not about calling on people to see when they're ready to buy the product. Follow-up is about adding value to the relationship, continuing to reach out and add value to the relationship. I like to use this percentage, 70-30. When I follow up with my prospects, when I follow up with customers, 70% of the time I make it about them. I invite them to a webinar. I shoot them an article that will be of value. I invite them to an event, and 30% is about me. Because if we call people every couple of weeks and say, are you ready to do business with me? Then what's going to happen is the fact that they are going to find us annoying. It's just not going to work. So you've got to use follow-up as a way to add value. The sale happens in the follow-up. You have got to get good at follow-up if you want to push through the obstacle of not getting your deals closed. So you've got to learn to follow up and follow through. I've got a present here for you. If you email me or just go to my website, valuespeaker.com, there you'll find 16 ways to stay in touch without being annoying. 16 ways to continue to add value to that relationship so that your customer, so that you're the one who's visible when they're ready to close the deal. Number 5, quit being pushy. If you push a customer in today's marketplace, they won't buy from you. The reason is they have a choice. Remember, finding the product is not hard for them. That's easy. They're trying to find someone they like, somebody they know, somebody they trust. So you can't push them to do business with you. If you believe customers need you more than you need them, then you're living in the past. Remember, They can find the product anywhere. They're looking for somebody they know, somebody they like, and somebody they trust. So we're back to overfilling that sales funnel. You've got to move slowly and build the relationship first. In other words, you've got to solve their urgent need. Listen first, understand, solve the urgent need, sell small to sell big, and earn trust. What do I mean by that? When you go in and you talk to a customer and you're asking questions, you need to really listen. Because when you really listen, they're going to tell you what is most important to them. I went in to talk with a client about doing a strategic plan for them. The client had been referred to me, and that is what my referral source said that the client wanted to talk about, was strategic planning. But when I went in to sit down and I went to meet with him, and I asked him a couple of questions, he kept talking about the fact that his sales team can't get in the door. They just can't open doors. Now, if I'd have started talking about strategic planning, what would have happened was he would have felt I didn't hear him. But instead, I paid attention to what he was talking about, his urgent need. And his urgent need was to get his sales team through the door. So we switched the conversation. And when I started to bring up ideas to solve the problem of getting his sales team through the door, he felt like I understood him. I solved his urgent need. People can't hear you until you solve their problem. But because I solved his problem, it was easy to sell the strategic plan because he trusted me. He believed in me. So you can't be pushy. You've got to sell small to sell big. If you walk in through your client's door and they've had a bad day and you just start talking about product, they don't feel heard. They don't feel listened to. They don't feel cared about. And you've got to use that first to differentiate yourself if you want to succeed in today's marketplace.
Meredith, I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's obviously, it is evident that the fortune is in the follow-up.
Yes.
And at the same time, you shouldn't be too pushy. You mentioned that the best way to do this is by adding value at every touch point, right?
Yes.
Now, do you have a magic number that you keep in mind that, I'm going to follow up with this client so many times, and after that, I wouldn't really follow up anymore?
Yes. Yeah. What a great question. So I divide my prospects into A's, B's, and C's. My A prospects are people that I had a conversation with that have definitely let me know they're interested. I mean, we have gone that far. They're like interested. They want to talk business. Sometimes those calls go cold. A B prospect is somebody who I've had a good conversation with, but has kind of been on the fence as to whether they want to do business with me. And a C is maybe showed a little bit of interest, but we really haven't gotten as far as really talking about a deal. So with my A clients, it's kind of a feel, right? I'm going to give you a number, but it's kind of a feel. You gotta feel them out. But the way that I do is I'll stay in touch with them about every other week. But let's assume that I had a call with you and you were so interested in me. You're like, yes, I want to do this. This sounds great. And then I follow up with an email and you don't respond. I follow up with a phone call and you don't respond. I take that as a clue that just told me you got really busy. Something besides me has taken priority. Okay. So instead of tapping you every week to ask you if you want to do business, I send you an email that says, thank you so much. I realize that you have gotten really busy. I just wanted to let you know, don't worry about following up with me. I'm going to stay visible with you. And I'm going to reach out probably every other week. And when you're ready, go ahead and respond. But until then, don't worry about it. And what I did with that is I got them off the hook to have to respond to me, so I'm not annoying. And the other is I got permission to let them know I'm going to stay visible with them. So at that point, I go into my 70-30 split. 70% of the time I reach out will be about adding value, sending an article, inviting to a webinar, inviting to an event, making a connection for them, sharing their LinkedIn post. 30% of that will be about me. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think I'd like to add another point here. So when I get a lot of follow-ups from sales reps and they're adding a lot of value, I think it's also, we also need to be cognizant about the amount of information we send across, because sometimes when sales reps follow up with me, I get actually presentation decks in my inbox. And every single time I see a really long email, even though it adds a lot of value, I sort of defer it to another time, strictly because of the amount of time it will take to go through these emails and respond, or not even respond, just go through them at all. So I think we'll probably have to keep the emails short as well.
Oh,
What's your take on that?
Oh, so I'm so glad you brought that up. We could do a whole webinar on that.
Okay.
My typical everything that I send is short and sweet. Even if I send an article, it's under it's under 500 words. If I send and sometimes if I have a bigger article, I'll just highlight the paragraph that they need to read.
Okay.
But my follow-up emails to people are 3-4 sentences max.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, the average CEO. I had a meeting this morning, actually with a gentleman who runs a CEO firm and he works with some of the biggest CEOs like Apple and Facebook and people like that. And they have just said that the average attention span of a CEO is somewhere around 15 to 16 minutes. So
Okay.
you've really got to keep it tight. And you've really got to keep it solid.
All
Great
right, got
question.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. But if people didn't take anything else from this webinar, the two things I would really love you to take are to really get good at your follow-up system. Please go to my website and get 16 ways to stay in touch without being annoying and really get committed to that. The other is slow the sale down and listen for the urgent need. You're not selling product. You're selling relationship first, product second. You can be aggressive in sales when somebody likes you and trusts you, but at the beginning, they're comparing you to 5, 6, 7 other people. And that's a complete feel. Sales is always emotional. So that urgent need is really important. And number 6, quit thinking that marketing and sales don't work together, because they do. The sales cycle has changed. I want you to think about this. Since I started this webinar, since you came on here and joined us, since we have been talking through this webinar, your best customers, your top prospects, they already started the sales cycle and they started it without you. Right now, they're online Googling for the person they want to work with and the product they want to buy. Tonight, they're going to go to a meeting and they're going to talk to other people about who they work with and what products they use. And if your name is not coming up, if your name is not coming off their lips, then you're already behind in the sales cycle. As sales professionals, we have got to realize that the sales cycle starts without us, and we need marketing to create the visibility, the awareness, and the buzz about us in the marketing, in the marketplace. Sales and marketing are so aligned. If you believe marketing can't help you, they won't. The sales professionals who are going to win in today's marketplace are going to understand that there are sales skills they are really good at, but there is part of their job they need to turn over to the marketing department. And the more data they can get from them, the more buzz in the marketplace, the more PR they can get, the better off you are going to be. Marketing and sales helps you attract before you ask for the business. It creates an intense connection and value-added follow-up. Attract before you ask is what I was just talking about, creating that buzz in the marketplace. People have to have heard of you and about you if they're going to do business with you. And you've got to turn that piece over to the marketing department. Now, what you're good at as the sales professional is to create the incredible connection. Really, creating and putting that personal experience into sales. And then we work together on value-added follow-up. There are a lot of pieces and a lot of ways that that marketing can help you really stay connected to your customers. They're gonna do a lot of creating that extra added value, and you need to lean on them to make that happen. So those are the obstacles. Those are the things that you need to know to really push through and send sales through the roof. You've got to sell risk and value instead of selling price. Embrace the economy. Be very focused, but be open to flex. Talk at least monthly or so about what's going on in the marketplace, what's going on that you need to change and be aware of. Value-added follow-up. Sell from the inside out. Sell urgent need and align with marketing. Now, I told you that I was going to have one extra obstacle, one extra thing to push through. And one of the biggest pushbacks I hear from salespeople today, in fact, I've got a client later this afternoon that I'm working with on this, is that it's getting harder and harder to get in the door, harder and harder to get time with prospects. And you've got to understand that in today's marketplace, that is absolutely true. And sales starts with the strategy of networking. Networking. You should be, if you build your network, you will change your life. If you build your network, you will change more sales. You should be out now meeting clients and prospects that you hope to do business with a year from now or 2 years from now. You should be out prospecting and networking with people that all you want to do is invest in them and build the relationship. Later on today, I'm going to go to a networking event, and there will probably be 500 people there. And we could do a whole nother webinar on how to network strategically. But you need to be attending events like that, because I'll meet people, I'll get cards from people, and I'll stay connected with them over the next year. Some of that will turn into business, and some of it won't. But if you want to forget cold calling, and most of us do, put networking as part of your strategy. Build your network. It'll change your life. Build your network. You'll quit cold calling and close more sales. So that is it. And that was a lot of information, but any other questions on the table?
Yeah, I think I've got a lot of them. But thanks
Okay.
a lot, Meredith, for taking us through the 7 obstacles. I think it was quite brief, as your emails are, and I learned a lot as well. So with regards to the sales and marketing alignment, right, you see that in a lot of companies, there is a friction between both the teams, especially around, the marketing team complaining that the sales team aren't able to close the leads they're giving, and the sales team complaining that the marketing team isn't giving us high quality leads. So how do you think these two teams should work together on this particular aspect?
Okay. I'm going to assume that I'm talking to salespeople working with marketing.
Okay.
So I would answer this differently if it was marketing working with sales. So there's so much friction between the two. I don't go into any organizations where there isn't really. And part of the problem is because marketing doesn't really understand what sales does, and sales really doesn't understand what marketing does. And so if I were a sales professional in a company, what I would do is I would go into the marketing department and I would shadow for a little while. I get a good handle on what they're doing. The second thing is I would invite marketing to go on some sales calls with me and just observe. Start to build that relationship. When you get a really good understanding of the capabilities that marketing has, but one of the biggest problems and the friction comes from the fact that marketing doesn't understand sales. And so as a sales professional, you've got to educate them as to where you need them in the buying cycle and how you can take advantage of what they have to offer. But the best way that you're going to do that is by going in there, building relationship, understanding what they do, and then helping create that strategy.
Got it. Okay. And how does it look from the other way around? Because I'm very curious about it.
Yes.
Since I'm in the marketing team. So how do I say this, convince the sales reps that we're doing our best in terms of the quality of leads that we're giving you?
Yeah, if you are a marketing person and you have not gone on a sales call, if you have not really sat down and had a good interview with salespeople about what their really big challenges are and what they're dealing with, okay, then you're not able to provide high quality marketing things. So that's where you need to start. The second thing is you need to ask for feedback and input from salespeople on the content and things that you're creating, because you have amazing ideas as a marketing person, but it's kind of like, when I get ready to go do a keynote or I do a webinar or something, I'm asking the people, what is it that you need to hear? What is it that you need to learn about? And sometimes it's exactly what I was going to write about, but their terminology is a little bit different, or they have a different slant on it. So as a marketing person, really understand that they're living in the real world. They're dealing with the client front on. So get your ego out of the way, take the feedback from them, and use that to go back to the amazing tools that you have to make them even better.
Got it. Okay. Thanks a lot for that, Meredith. Yeah. I think we can open the floor for Q&A. Guys, if you have any questions, please go to the Q&A section and type it down, and Meredith and I will be happy to answer them. Well, I think people like the webinar and they need a recording of it. Yes, guys, we are going to be recording. We're recording this webinar and we'll be shooting over the recording in a couple of days.
Great. And there's all my contact information. If we are not connected, I would love to be, connected. I really love it when people reach out to me. If you have questions, if you need more information, please don't hesitate. And again, I would love to be, I'd love to be connected, and I would love it for people to stay connected with me.
Yeah, I think there's another question, Meredith. It's around the pricing strategy. Now, a lot of segments out there are selling products that are more or less a commodity.
Yes.
Where price is probably a large deciding factor because the product in itself don't have any big differentiation, right? It could be something that you buy off the shelf. It could be cosmetics, for example, that daily use consumables. So now let's say, how does one differentiate in that from a sales angle?
Yeah, the best way to differentiate yourself from a sales angle is to go out and ask your customers why they do business with you. One thing that we didn't have a chance to get into in this webinar is I have a whole piece on you've got to really choose the right prospect. I mean, one of the biggest places that I see sales professionals waste time is we're calling on people that are probably never going to do business with us, or they're going to beat us up about our price and things all the time. Everybody on this webinar has a type. And that is, when I told you to make that list of top 20 prospects, top 20 customers, you'll see that your customers have things in common.
Yeah.
Maybe they're from the same age range, same industry. They have the same growth piece in their business, whatever. But the more that you stay in the better you know your customers, the better you choose your prospects. But the way you differentiate on price is you've got to understand the risk and you've got to understand the value. And what that means is you need to talk to your customers and you need to ask them, what is it about me? Why are you doing business with us? What is it that made you choose us over a competitor? And then you use that language in your sales calls.
Got it. Okay. Got that.
And,
okay.
and I will guarantee for everybody who's on this webinar, it doesn't have anything to do with the product. It's going to be like you service the product quickly. Your sales team is so nice. I just had a plumber here the other day, and I love the plumbing company. And the reason I can find a plumber anywhere. Plumber is not talk about a commodity business, but their employees always show up in a uniform. They're all bonded and trusted, so I can have them in my house when I'm not here. They bill me immediately. I never have an issue with my bill. It's exactly what they quoted. All those reasons need to go in when they're selling.
Got it. Okay. I think relationships go a long way in creating loyal customers. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we've got another question from Abhinav Rana. He asks, how do you get initial traction in a market where there are incumbents or dominating giants? Would you want to take that up?
Yeah, that's and I feel you. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do that right now. So what I really, really, really do is the hardest sale is the first sale. And there's not a lot that you can do to, you've got to have good marketing materials and things like that, but just really work hard to get that first sale and then blow that customer's experience away, do a phenomenal job. And once I do that, I use the testimonial from that sale to make all my other sales. Then my sales becomes, I have a written testimonial from them. I've got a video testimonial from them, but that's how I leverage it. And that's how I get in there to try to dominate a new market. The other is you've got to understand where the opportunity is in the market. There's something that your competitors, those big companies, are not doing. And it may be that they're not servicing a certain level of customers. Like I had a investment firm who decided to service customers under $1 million because the big boys in that company weren't servicing those. So there's a weakness in your big competitors. And if you can use that to create a niche and opportunity, you'll be able to get into that market.
That makes a lot of sense. I think when you're starting off and building a company from scratch, the added advantage is you're in such close proximity to your customers than, let's say, an incumbent player who has a large 100-member sales team, because you know your product in
Yes.
and out. And I think you will, or any entrepreneur who's starting off will probably be able to craft a better experience than a new sales hire.
Yeah.
And I think that touch point is going to create the big differentiation and crack the first deal.
I would agree. The other is really focus on that follow-up system,
Yes.
because the reason the follow-up system matters is because somewhere along the line, one of those competitors is going to make a mistake. And when
Yes.
they do, it always happens. You want to be the first person they think of.
Certainly, Meredith. We've got another question, an interesting one though. And this is especially with, it's from Mahesh. And he asks, do you have any face reading techniques to understand if a certain person is interested or not? Would you want to take this?
Yeah, yeah. I actually don't. I call it pace and priority. So, what a good question, and really, really important to know this. But the first thing that I look at when I engage with somebody is their pace. Are they a fast mover, or are they a little bit more reserved? Meaning, when I ask them a question, I go say, tell me a little bit about your business. They go, if they say immediately, oh my gosh, we've grown, this and this and this, and they start to just tell me all kinds of information, I know that they're fast paced and I need to pick my energy up. If there's a pause and they need a little bit of time to think, then they're a little bit more reserved and I need to bring my energy down. So first thing I'm looking at is pace. The second thing I'm looking at is priority. When I ask a question, did they get right to the point? Or when I ask a question, do they tell me everything under the sun? And that tells me their priority is either task focused, they want me to stay on schedule, or they're more relationship focused and they want to tell me all about themselves and their business. I really love that you asked this question, because I think that as salespeople, we think we communicate with our words, and our words are something like 7% of how we communicate. We do it with our body language, but I really think we do it with our energy, and we do it with our pace and our priority. If you talk too long to somebody whose priority is to get the task accomplished, or if you start asking them about their personal life, they're irritated. But if you go straight to the point at hand with somebody who's relationship focused, their feelings are hurt. If you bring too much energy to a reserved person, you've overwhelmed them. But if you don't bring your energy up and you don't move quickly enough for a fast-paced person, then they've decided that you're irritating and they're not going to do business with you. So really good question. I don't do it by face. I do it by pace and priority.
That makes a lot of sense. I think I'd like to add another point here, guys, that usually you don't have the luxury to sit face to face with the customer, especially when you're selling across continents or countries.
Yes.
So I think one of the things that we recommend our internal sales team as well is to switch on the camera, because it
Yes.
encourages the other person to switch on the camera as well. And when you get their attention, because there are a lot of times when I've gotten on calls and that they're probably, I don't know, browsing through their Facebook feed or checking their LinkedIn while they're actually talking to you, or trying to answer a question their friend asked on iMessage or WhatsApp. So, but by switching on the camera, they're obliged to look at you, and when they're paying attention and looking at the screen, you automatically created the opportunity to get their attention and figure out if they're interested or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I will add too, you can tell somebody's pace and priority very much from emails and from a phone conversation. I had a client I sent an email this morning to somebody. I was doing a sales call and I was asking her if we could connect for a virtual coffee. And she sent me back a one word. She said yes. And the moment that she didn't say anything else, she didn't say, how was your weekend? How was it? I just took that as, okay, she's task focused. I just sent her a calendar invite.
Got it.
I didn't go into anything else, versus if somebody had emailed me back with, oh, I'd love to have virtual coffee. I hope you had a great weekend. We were gone with the kids all weekend. Then I know my email needs to be a little bit more lengthy. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's a splendid approach. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're done here, Meredith.
Great. Thank you. Sorry for all the trouble at the beginning.
Oh, no problem at all. I was a little nervous because I haven't had that experience before. And there was a lot of confusion from my end as well, a lot of noise around here. But I'm so glad the webinar turned out quite well. It's quite interactive, and we've got quite a few questions as well. So one last thing before you guys go, we're going to be sharing a couple of chapters from Mereditt's book, Cut Through Obstacles and Send Sales to the Roof. So I think this is a great resource as continued reading after this webinar. And she also has a course where you can do this online. So we'll be sending this across to you, via email, along with the recording of the webinar as well. And Mereditt, if there's any link that you would want to be put in that, including the sales templates that you spoke about, we can add that as well, just as a bonus to all the attendees.
Fantastic.
Yep. I think we are ready to go now. Thank you, Mereditt.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye. Take care, guys. Good night.